When my company hired Ethan I thought he was harmless, one of those overly polite new guys who laugh at every joke and bring donuts on Mondays. But by the second week, something about him felt off. He was too charming, always where you didn't expect him, always listening even when no one was talking to him. The first time I noticed something weird was after a meeting. I just presented a project I'd been working on for 3 months, a client pitch that could make or break my promotion. Everyone clapped, even the boss. Ethan smiled and said, "Man, that was brilliant." 2 days later, he presented the same idea to our manager as his own. When I confronted him privately, he laughed. "Hey, calm down, it's just business," he said, hands raised like he was the victim. "I did steal it, I just restructured it." I saw red. Structured. "You literally copied my deck, Ethan, word for word." He smirked. "Then maybe you should have saved it somewhere safer." I stormed off before I did something I'd regret, but inside I was boiling. The next day, the manager called me into her office. "Look," she said, avoiding eye contact, "Ethan's presentation got great feedback. Maybe you two should collaborate instead of competing." Collaborate with the guy who'd stabbed me in the back. I left her office shaking, realizing something ugly. Ethan wasn't just manipulative, he was strategic. And he was just getting started. Over the next few weeks, strange things started happening. Emails I knew I'd sent disappeared. Files I'd organized were missing entire sections. Then the boss asked why I'd forgotten to include key numbers in a report. I checked the files, someone had edited it. My name was still on it, but the data had been completely changed to make me look incompetent. When I asked it if they could track changes, they said the edits were made from my own login. That night, Ethan smiled at me across the office and said, "Rough week, huh?" His tone was casual, but his eyes gleamed. I realized then he was trying to ruin me. By the end of that week, I couldn't focus on anything except proving what he was doing. I started staying late at the office, waiting until everyone left, hoping to catch him in the act. But every night, when I was alone, I felt watched. The office was different at night, the hum of the AC louder, the shadows deeper. The security cameras flickered sometimes, like something was interfering with them. Once, around 11 p.m., I heard typing coming from Ethan's desk, even though the lights in his cubicle were off. When I went to check, the monitor was on. The screen showed my shared drive, my name, my folders, and a file titled Disciplinary Evidence. Before I could click it, the screen went black. The next morning, I found an email from HR. "Please schedule a meeting to discuss recent conduct concerns." My stomach dropped. I walked straight to my manager's office. She frowned when I came in. "Look, I don't know what's going on between you and Ethan, but it has to stop. He came to me saying you've been harassing him, following him, threatening him." "What?" I said, almost laughing in disbelief. "He's the one." She held up a hand. "We'll review the evidence in HR. Just calm down." Evidence. That word made my blood run cold. At the HR meeting, they showed me screenshots of messages, ones I'd supposedly sent. They were threatening, paranoid, full of insults directed at Ethan, except I never wrote them. The timestamps matched nights I'd stayed late at work. My company account had been used, my signature perfectly forged. Ethan sat there, pretending to look uncomfortable, glancing down whenever I tried to meet his eyes. "This isn't me," I said. "He's framing me. Check the access logs, check my." But the HR rep sighed. "We already did. All the messages came from your terminal. We'll have to put you on administrative leave while we investigate." Ethan's lips twitched. Not a full smile, just enough for me to know he'd won. When I left the building, he was standing near the elevator, sipping coffee. "Tough break," he said. "Guess some people just can't handle pressure." I wanted to hit him. Instead, I just said, "You'll regret this." He smiled wider. "No, you will." Being put on administrative leave felt like being erased. They sent me an email copy of the HR minutes, neutral language, bullet points, pending investigation. My inbox filled with polite messages from colleagues I barely knew, careful sentences that sounded like condolences without commitment. I walked home in a daze, like someone had clipped the strings on my life and let it drift. At home I paced until late, then called Maya, my oldest friend from college and one person who still believed in me without the caveats. "They'll find something," she said, the kind of fierce comfort that steadies you. "You didn't do this, so don't behave like you did." Her voice was calm, but I could hear the edge in it. She was angry on my behalf, and that helped. We agreed I needed proof, not accusations or gut feelings, but hard logs, timestamps, IP traces. Maya knew someone in it at her firm who owed her a favor. By midnight I had a plan: get copies of the server access logs, cross-reference the hours of the forged messages, and prove the remote access was spoofed. No theatrics, just facts. I slept for 2 hours and drove to meet Nick, the quiet IT guy who'd once helped me rebuild a crashed hard drive. He met me in a coffee shop, laptop under his arm, eyes already tired. "If Ethan's framing you, he's clever," Nick said, typing. "He used admin creds masked by VPN hops, but VPNs leave traces. We can follow the breadcrumbs if we're lucky." I felt a small, dangerous flicker of hope, the kind that makes you hold your breath until it either dies or becomes a roar. Nick and I spent the next 2 days mapping logins, creating timelines, and forcing the company's audit system to cough up anything it had. It was tedious, soul-sucking work, parsing server timestamps, comparing workstation MAC addresses, chasing proxy jumps. Every time we thought we had an angle, it splintered into another layer of obfuscation. Ethan had covered his tracks well. It was like peeling paint off a wall that kept regenerating. Then Nick found a glitch, a tiny, almost invisible anomaly in the authentication chain, an old backup server that forwarded logins through a deprecated admin proxy still sitting in a closet somewhere in the building. It was unmonitored, forgotten. If someone used that proxy and then killed the entry, the only trail left would be on that hardware, Nick explained. "If we can get a snapshot, we might find him." My palms went slick. This was the lead we needed. But getting that snapshot meant physical access. Someone would need to go into the server room and grab the drive images before security or Ethan noticed. Nick looked at me. "You're on leave," he said. "They'll log anyone who goes in there. You want me to do it remotely?" His eyes held a question that wasn't just technical. I nodded. "Do it." That night, while the city hummed, Nick worked. I sat in my dark apartment, the glow of my phone the only light. Texts came in from HR asking if I was okay, from my manager offering support that felt hollow, from Ethan only once, a blank message with an attachment I didn't open. I watched the minutes crawl by, waiting for a ping that felt like salvation. When Nick finally messaged, "Got it, copying now," I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. The snapshot was messy but promising. There were records on that deprecated proxy, login attempts, MAC addresses, and a small window where an admin session had been proxied through an offsite VPS. The kicker: the VPS was rented under a pseudonym, but the payment trail led to a prepaid card bought with a receipt Ethan had carelessly left on his desk last month. It was sloppy, human, the kind of mistake the meticulous make when they feel invincible. I took the findings to Maya and Nick, and to my lawyer. Yes, I'd finally pulled that trigger, and together we compiled an evidence packet. It felt surreal, years of my career warped into logs and PDFs. We emailed it to HR and legal with a demand: immediate review, temporary restraining order, and a forensic hold on all systems. The message went out like a flare. Then, for the first time in weeks, I waited for something other than cold dread. HR called back within hours. Their tone was different this time, sharper, less guarded. They'd reopened the investigation and promised to escalate to corporate security. I felt the sugar of relief on my tongue, but it dissolved quickly into a bitter aftertaste. Vindication wouldn't fill the crater Ethan had left. It won't erase waking up at 3 a.m., the quiet smear of betrayal I carried on my shoulders. That night, as I drifted into a fragile sleep, my phone buzzed. A single image, a photo of my apartment building taken from across the street. No message, no signature, just the same flat, smug smile I'd come to hate at the center of the frame. Ethan was watching, and for all our proof, one fact remained: making him stop required him to be caught, and people like him don't break easily. The police said the photo didn't constitute a threat. Their words, not mine. The officer on the phone sounded half asleep, as if stalking was just another Tuesday. I sent them the image anyway, along with the timestamps and Ethan's history with me at work. "We'll make a note," the officer said. "If he contacts you directly again, call us." That was it. No patrol, no report, just a note. I sat by the window for hours after that, watching headlights pass on the street below. Every shape in the shadows looked like him, the outline of his shoulders, the gait I'd memorized from years of walking the same halls. I hated that my brain recognized him in everything. It made me feel like he'd already won, that I was living inside the cage he'd built out of my own fear. Maya begged me to stay somewhere else. "Come crash at my place," she said. "You shouldn't be alone right now." But I couldn't do it. Maybe it was pride, maybe stupidity. I didn't want to be driven out of my own home. So I reinforced my locks, bought a motion light for the hallway, and started sleeping with my phone recording beside the window, just in case. The first night passed quietly. The second, too. But on the third night at exactly 2:46 a.m., the light flicked on, and I heard the soft creak of gravel outside my window. When I looked through the blinds, there was no one there. Just an empty street and the sound of wind. But my phone had recorded something else. A faint voice, barely audible through the static, whispering my name. I played that recording 100 times. It was distorted, broken, like it had been dragged through a digital filter, but the syllables were clear enough. My name, whispered low, slow, familiar. I sent the clip to Nick. He ran it through his software and confirmed it. "Yeah, man, that's him. I've got older audio from staff meetings. It's a match." I forwarded the file to the detective who'd brushed me off before. This time, the tone changed. They asked me to come in, to make a formal statement, to provide all digital evidence. It wasn't much, but it was movement. Still, part of me wondered if Ethan was letting me find these clues, like he was 2 steps ahead, feeding me just enough to keep me playing his game. The next day, Nick texted something that made my stomach drop. "You need to see this. Someone's using your credentials again." Attached was a screenshot, a system login under my old user ID, timestamped that very morning from a location 2 blocks away. "He's taunting you," Nick said. "He wants you to chase it." I stared at the map on my screen, a red dot pulsing on a street I knew near the abandoned lot behind our office building. Against every instinct screaming "don't asterisk," I grabbed my coat and keys. Maybe I wanted to end it. Maybe I was just tired of being hunted. Either way, I was done hiding. When I got there, the lot was quiet, the asphalt cracked and overgrown with weeds. A single car sat under a flickering lamp, Ethan's black sedan, and taped to the driver's side window, fluttering in the wind, was a photo of me taken from my window. On the back, in Sharpie, 2 words, "Nice view." I didn't sleep that night. The cops took the photo, made noises about possible escalation, and told me to avoid contact. Avoid contact, as if that were even possible when the man was rewriting my life from the shadows. I felt like a character in someone else's story, every move predicted, every reaction scripted. Maya started staying over. She tried to keep things normal, cooking, watching trash TV, talking about work, but I could see the tension in her eyes. Every creak of the floorboards made her flinch. Once, she caught me standing at the window at 4 a.m., just staring. "You need to stop letting him live in your head," she whispered. I wanted to tell her he wasn't just in my head anymore. Nick was still digging through system data, convinced he could find something solid enough for a warrant. "If we get his VPN endpoint, we can link it to his physical device," he said. That's the nail. I wanted to believe that. But every time he got close, something crashed, logs wiped, backups corrupted. Ethan was watching him too. And then came the message. An email from an anonymous address, subject line blank. The body contained only 1 sentence. "Check your ceiling." I froze. Maya saw my face drain and asked what was wrong. I didn't answer. I just climbed onto the chair and pushed up the ceiling panel above my bed. There, wedged between the insulation, was a tiny black device with a blinking red light. The police arrived 20 minutes later. By then, the device was already in a Ziploc bag on my kitchen counter. It was smaller than my thumb, a pinhole camera with a microSD card and a dead battery. When the officers came in, they exchanged that look, the one that says, "This guy, losing it, but we'll play along." I tried explaining that this wasn't paranoia, that Ethan had access, motive, and now asterisk proof. But the moment I mentioned his name, their tone shifted again, bureaucratic, cautious. "Sir, we'll send this to forensics," one of them said, "but without evidence of trespassing, we can't make an arrest." I wanted to scream. Instead, I sat down on the couch, my hands shaking so hard I could hear my knuckles crack. Maya stood beside me, furious, packing. "They don't care until you're a headline," she hissed. I didn't answer. I just stared at the empty square in my ceiling where the camera had been, the insulation sagging slightly like an open wound. That night I unplugged everything. Every router, every bulb, every piece of tech that could be used against me. My apartment turned into a dead zone of silence and shadows. I slept with the lights on, not because it made me feel safer, but because it made the dark smaller. In the morning, Nick texted me a single line: "You were right, I found the end point." He sent me coordinates, a physical address registered to a data storage unit under Ethan's name. It was across town, in an industrial zone full of abandoned offices and half-rented warehouses. My chest tightened. He wasn't just watching from a distance anymore. He'd built his little command center right inside the city, a place where he could see everything. Nick wanted to go to the storage unit together. "We'll do it quietly," he said. "If there's something there, we'll take photos, hand it all to the cops." Maya tried to talk me out of it. She said it was reckless, that this was exactly what Ethan wanted. But I couldn't just sit there anymore. Every time I blinked, I imagined that red light above my bed. We drove there after sunset. The air was cold, sharp with rain. The facility was half empty, rows of metal units, some with padlocks, others sealed with electronic keypads. Ethan's was near the back, tucked behind a flickering street lamp. The lock was electronic, but Nick had come prepared. Within seconds, the keypad beeped green. Inside, it smelled like dust and solder. The small room was packed with monitors, routers, and tangled wires. On one screen, I saw the exterior of my building. On another, the asterisk inside asterisk of my apartment, my kitchen table, my couch. There were timestamps, labeled folders, even sound logs. And in the center of the desk sat a photo of me and Maya at my last office party, taped under the words "trust test." I couldn't breathe. It felt like standing inside someone's obsession. Nick whispered, "Jesus Christ," and started taking pictures. That's when I heard it, a low hum, like static building from nowhere. Then a voice, distorted but unmistakable, came through a nearby speaker. "Did you really think you'd find me before I found you?" Nick killed the power instantly, plunging the unit into darkness. My heart hammered in my chest, every nerve screaming to run. We stumbled out, slamming the door behind us, rain pelting down like shrapnel. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number: "You shouldn't have gone there." We got in the car, tires screeching as we pulled away. Neither of us spoke for a long time. When we finally reached my apartment, Nick started encrypting everything: our phones, our messages, even the photos he took. "He's going to retaliate," he said. "He's too deep in this to back off." I knew he was right. Ethan wasn't trying to ruin me anymore. He was trying to own asterisk me, to keep me locked in his loop forever. I filed another police report, handed over the evidence, begged them to do something. This time, they finally took it seriously. They placed an officer on surveillance duty and opened a full investigation. Still, it didn't feel like safety. It felt like countdown. That night, as I tried to sleep, I noticed something strange on my wall: faint red dots, like the reflection of a laser pointer moving slowly across my windowpane. I froze. Maya whispered, "Is that?" But I already knew. The light traced across my chest, lingered, then disappeared. A few seconds later, my phone buzzed again. One message: "See you soon."